powerful and moving as I've had the opportunity to read her book, The Case for Hope. Jennifer Dickinson is the author, and she has experienced a dynamic transformation within her life of healing. Diagnosed with stage 4 cancer and given only days to live, you can imagine the state of mind and the state of thinking. You imagine her conditions of hearing the doctor's diagnosis for her journey. But you see, it doesn't end there. There's a powerful case for hope that she's going to share with us today, a belief in the power of that life and health and wholeness are ours, and that as we begin to tap into this power of wholeness and strength, as we begin to channel that spiritual awakening of God's power within our life, there is healing for us, and the miraculous is ours. I want you to know that you are witnessing, amongst many others in this room, a dynamic miracle. A miracle in our life standing right before us to share the testimony. And if it happens for one, it happens for all. Let me tell you that. So this is the real inspiration that we can gather within our hearts and lives, knowing that as we hear the stories of dynamic testimonies of the wonderful healing power of God within our life, we know that if it happens for one, it's there for us too. And that's so beautiful to claim within our lives. So with that, we're welcoming those who are joining us through our Facebook audience. We're delighted that you're here with us today as we welcome a very special guest to share her testimony, The Case for Hope. Let me just tell you this, the book will be available in our lobby for you to purchase. A little commercial as we begin. And Jennifer will be here to sign it as well for our reception following the service today. But I know that you'll want to know more as she shares this dynamic testimony and story. Would you welcome Jennifer Dickinson with a warm welcome. So good to have you with us. God bless you.
So
I'm going to give you this mic.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. I've got the water. What a privilege to be here. I mean, on so many levels, but thank you. What a wonderful church, and thank you for allowing me to be here. I mean, I couldn't agree more with everything you just said. Just everything that you've said so far, just wonderful, and I'm grateful to be here. As he said, my name is Jennifer Dickinson, and about 2011, I was diagnosed with brain cancer. It was glioblastoma, if anybody knows some of what these things could be. But I didn't know that at the beginning. In 2011, I was a busy lawyer. I had my own firm with a partner. We had about 100 lawyers and staff, offices everywhere. I was a stress case. And in 2007 and 2008, many of us can relate, the financial crisis made my life even more difficult. And ultimately, after some time, so what was happening in 2011 is I was having trouble with words. I was having trouble with memory. I was having trouble with reading. And a lot of people who have brain cancer, they say that they had trouble, headaches. I didn't really have headaches, but it was more sensitivity to light. So those are some of the key aspects of what was happening. I ultimately got an MRI, and they showed that I had the glioblastoma. I rushed to the hospital, and they said, you can't drive, obviously. You've got this thing. You've got to go to the hospital immediately. Called my husband, and he drove me there. What a scary moment for me, but millions and millions of other people. My story is my story, but it's also a universal story, and I'm quite aware of that. And that's why I'm here today to share that with you, because in many ways, this is your story too, your family, your members, maybe something that happened with you. So I share this in the hope that people can be moved and maybe even understand that there are paths for us to use to heal ourselves. I am quite sure of it. when I was in the hospital that first night, I was devastated. I had a first year, freshman, I'm trying to remember, first grade. Thank you, sorry. First grader and a third grader, two little girls. And I thought, how can I be diagnosed with something like this? This is deadly. I mean, really bad. So I prayed with a neighbor who was a very good friend, and she had helped people with brain cancer. And she was in the hospital with me, and she said, this is bad. This is really bad. She wasn't faking it, you know, she was really telling me the truth. And I prayed for the first time because I never grew up in the church. I didn't really know what everybody was doing on Sunday. It was like having, you know, crullers and sleeping in. I'm like, what is everybody doing? So I didn't really know, but I was at the bottom of the barrel, and I prayed to God, and I prayed that I would be able to live and that I would be able to honor my husband and my children and change my life so that I could inspire and live the life that I should have been living. I felt like I should have been living, and I wasn't, because I was a stressed out lawyer spending hours at the office, not at home. And in that moment, there was an immediate restructuring of my life. She's smiling at me. She's had the experience. I know. It's insane. In that moment, everything shifted in my entire life. My accolades as a lawyer and all the offices, and it didn't mean one thing. Not one thing. And all of a sudden, the organization was this. God was here. I was under God. And then there was my family. Everything else had just crashed, gone. And I saw it was true, and it has never changed. It was a clarity that I needed to be at the bottom of the barrel, but it was true, and it was there. And that changed everything in my life, because I had God on my team, and there wasn't like there was a communication at that point. I just had a place to go with my sadness, and God was there, and it helped me understand I need to shift a lot of things, not just the cancer that's growing in my head, but I need to change my life. What am I doing? What have been my focusing my time on? The cancer that the cancer that I had, the glioblastoma, has such a bad rate. It's typically, if you get it, 95% would die within 12 to 18 months. That's pretty quick. That's 95%. It's really bad. 5% of those would live to 5 months. I am almost 12 months clear, 12 years clear, and but that percentage is 1.7%. So it's a toughie. It's a really tough one. And then people say, well, what was different about you? Did you have the best doctors? Did you have the best things and things? Because I did have radiation. I had surgery, radiation, and chemotherapy. And even with that, they were just saying, you'll have just a few more months. Basically, I'll buy you a couple more months to live. But I thought, that's really not enough, right? Like, I got these little girls. Who's going to take care of them in high school, you know, with all the crazy stuff? I've got to be here. And so I had something to live for. And I started to consider something else. I started to consider hope, how audacious I could barely say the doctors, okay, I appreciate you, but I got another plan. My plan is not to live for a few more months, to live. I want to beat this. I want to beat this. I didn't know that would happen, but I started taking the steps. I started moving in that direction. And just having a little hope. And hope is not a guarantee. You know, it's obviously a beginning spark, a spark from which you can jump from. But that's where it was. And I thought, if one person can heal this, why can't I? right? That's all I need is one person out there who's beaten this. And then I started thinking about other things too. Well, we heal all the time. I know this is a terrible diagnosis, but our bodies are built to heal. Maybe I can undo some of the things that I have been doing that maybe was cultivating this. Even though the doctor said, don't worry, you didn't do anything to cause this, you didn't do anything. And at the beginning, I really appreciated that lie because I couldn't take any more. I mean, the news was so terrible. But after a couple of hours, I was like, that's not true. I was a stress case for at least 3 or 4 years straight. Every morning, I'd wake up feeling kind of panicky. And all day, and working so many hours, not spending with my family. I was out of whack, right? I mean, has anybody had that feeling where you're just out of whack? The tail is driving the dog. I was there, and I didn't know how to fix it. But through this process, with finding this moment of connection with God and my desire to have hope, I started finding healing in the strangest places. It was like organic. It was one thing would lead to another, would lead to another. And all of a sudden, it started to lay out in front of me. It was like, whoa, I'm healing. I'm doing this. This is how you heal. And here's the great thing. It's not expensive things. It's things we know. Music, these guys were playing music. Music is a very healing technique. It's very good for our bodies. It supports our immune system. It lessens our inflammation in our bodies. It supports our heart. We were standing up, we were singing. We're healing, right? Like, this is great stuff. Everything, the kind of foods we eat, our sleep, the quality of our sleep, our mindfulness. What are we putting in our minds? Are we filling our minds with positive thoughts? Are we saying, oh, I screwed that up again? We always laugh. My husband and I always say, you do 100 things in a day, you do 99 things right, and then the one you focus on, right? Oh, gosh, that one thing. We're so tough on ourselves. And that's why I'm loving the restorative nature of your facility here and what you do, because it's so important for us to give ourselves a break and love ourselves. And that means leaving the office at 5 o'clock, not midnight. It means taking that time for ourselves. One thing I discovered is that taking time for joy in your day, 30 minutes every day, is your job. That's what I tell people. When I talk to a lot of people, obviously, in different illnesses. It doesn't have to just be cancer. It could be anything. It could be any life challenge. But I always say, I'm your boss. I'm telling you, your job is to have at least 30 minutes every day just for joyfulness. And this isn't to have lunch with your friend. This is with you. This is you to listening to music that moves you, maybe from high school, that kind of music that just moves you, makes you dance or something. Play with your pet for 30 minutes. Put the phones away, good Lord. And these moments will add up for you and allow you to understand what you might be missing. When I got so sick, I had trouble remembering what I used to love to do like that. I have busy little kids, I'm working all the time, I love my family, but I was running too hard, and it got to me. So ultimately, with all the things that were following in front of me, which is obviously ordained and came from another level, I thought to myself, I'm doing this. I'm beating this. I can't believe I'm beating this, but I am. It was so clear. I think I was about the 6th month or the 7th month part. I'm like, this is not coming back. This is not coming back. And they tell you that it will. And I had an exchange with my doctor, and it went like this. He said, when it comes back, because that's typically what happens, you get all this stuff, and then it comes back, and it's worse than before. He says, when it comes back, and I said, if it comes back, And he came back and he said, when it comes back. And I came back and I said, if it comes back. We did this one more time and I won. I won. He stopped and my answer was the final answer. But how dare them, right? How dare they take your hope away from you? Thank you, right? So you have to be your own self-advocate, and I learned that through this process. You don't know what's possible for me. God is in our lives. We can take steps and move in certain areas, change but the stress, remove the stress for balance. Find Qigong. Qigong is a wonderful movement, gentle movement. It's wonderful for healing. These things are not expensive, but there's a path that you can follow, and it's a pretty intoxicating one, better than any other thing I've ever seen. So when I talk about the three, I'm going to look at my time, make sure I'm okay. Okay. When I talk about the mind, the body, and the spirit, that's how I ultimately, obviously, I was just struggling, looking along, finding all these answers, but it started to lay out for me. And what I see is in the body and the spirit. If you look at a big tree, like we've got we have these gorgeous trees behind us. If you look at a gorgeous tree, you might see the very, very bottom. This is how I see it. The bottom is your body, and it's the deep soil, and it's the very, very bottom. That's the bottom. As the tree sort of comes up like this, I see that as your mindfulness, your mind, your thoughts. How are you culling your mind? What are you filling in your mind? What are you choosing to spend your mind on? And the very top of the tree, I see that as the spirit. Look how high it can go. Look how gorgeous it is, right? When you're looking at a tree. I actually love trees. I'm sort of bizarrely, especially after this experience for me, I feel very connected to trees, and I think we can because they're pretty amazing. But when it comes to the body part, I talk about breathing. We've talked about sleeping, the quality of sleep. Clean water is critical. Exercise on a regular basis, even if you're just walking in your neighborhood for 15 minutes at the beginning. But do it every day. These things are going to increase your blood flow. It's going to help your immune system. It's going to improve your mindfulness, create more hormones, good, healthy hormones that make you feel happy. And nutrition is critical also. These are just basic things. These things are sort of my most boring areas, but they're critical, right? It's the base of the tree, right? These things are very critical. The thing that really jazzes me up is when I talk about mindfulness. And in my book, I talk about these areas that are so critical. I mentioned Qigong, which is a Chinese, from 2,000 years ago, a technique in which just gentle movements, basically the concept is releasing your qi. It's like a garden hose gets kinked, and then you can open it. If you open that up, then all of a sudden you can have full qi or full life in this experience. And that's how Qigong, these gentle exercises, do that for us. It's very, very simple and very powerful. Other things we know, meditation is very, very important, but also music. We talked about how critical that is. They've done studies on music and music therapy showing for all kinds of different diseases, and some people having issues where they can't even move their body and they can't move properly. And then they listen to music and I say from their high school days or something where you're really connected. And then the person might be they can't even move. And all of a sudden the music comes in and they stand up and they can dance and they can move. It's fascinating. You can go into YouTube and see all these examples. So these are things we can do every day for ourselves. Spending time with joy is also critical. I love this one that I discovered. Spending time in nature is a really simple thing to do. Look how you're stimulated. You're stimulating by the light, by the trees. You're stimulated by the sounds. You know, you can touch a plant and just, it's alive. And so are you, right? And so are you. That's why I think we can learn a lot from trees, because trees are phenomenal and in a neat way to sort of meditate on ourselves and how we're connected to so many things, which, by the way, we are connected to all of us, all each other. I mean, you're my sisters and you're my brothers. And I feel that if people could know that and feel that, the world would be obviously a better place. And but it shifts everything when you start realizing you're my brother, you're my sister. You treat people with respect. It doesn't matter, right? People might be in different places in their lives, but it really excites me when I have a strange, my kids are always like, oh, you're embarrassing me, stop. And I'll look at somebody and say, I love your shirt, right? Or I'll just say, you know, you have such a nice smile. Somebody I don't even know, those are my favorite ones, the people I don't know. Because that person will carry that in their mind all day. They might go to sleep and they think, oh, that lady said that. What? How powerful you are, right? I mean, you are so powerful. Every one, and each one of us have our own path to follow. But if you can choose these directions, I think amazing things can happen. And honestly, I think that's part of why I'm here, honestly, because I was willing to get out of my window where I was, which was dingy and not clear, and I started to push it away, and all of a sudden I could see the truth. And this truth is for anybody, and you don't have to spend millions of dollars to find these things. When I found to the spiritual part, which is the top of our tree, I talk about 3 parts. One is perspective, judgment, and forgiveness. That's a really, really important area for a lot of people. Perspective is not finite. It's, in fact, very movable, can change in many things. You might judge somebody, and then you hear the backstory, and you're like, oh, I didn't know that. So I think perspective, from a healing perspective, is very important. And then judgment. We all carry judgment. And in the book, I've got a really funny story. I'm making fun of myself in the book, but it is pretty funny, about how we judge other people. But you know, it's a boomerang. You throw it out, and it comes right on back to you every single time. So you might not realize it, but it's like a backpack on your, you know, that you're carrying a backpack, and you're carrying old stuff in there, and new stuff, maybe stuff when you were 7, maybe stuff when you were 12, maybe something when you were 20. We carry some of these things unless we're willing to push it out. But judgment goes in your backpack too. So you start to get really heavy with that backpack. And sometimes you get to a point where you're just over it and it's time to get it out. And that's what happened with me. Forgiveness is about one of the most wonderful things I discovered. In my situation, I had a very difficult situation, and I was definitely judging, and probably appropriately so. But ultimately, it took me about 3 to 4 years to get to full forgiveness in this case. And it was bad. It was a bad situation. But what I finally realized is this is hurting me more than the person that I am judging, right? Yes. I chose, I don't want this anymore. I don't want this. I want to be free of this. And then this was the most powerful moment, is when I said, God, I've already figured out you're the bomb. You're everything. So God, you handle that. You take that away. Because only God knows the whole story about each person, right? I don't know. I know this pocket. Would you do that? I don't think so. But I don't have the big picture. But honestly, I don't care. It's not for me. You take it. You take it. Now, that doesn't mean when you forgive people, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to go get tea and make friends. I don't want to do that. That's okay. I've learned what I need to learn from that experience. God will take the rest of it. Found that very, very powerful. The second part is spirituality for me, and the way I see it is, you tell me if I'm going too far, getting support. I am the biggest fan of support, of getting psychologist or a psychiatrist or coach or whomever. Sometimes we need help. Honestly, I feel like every person in the whole world should have a coach or a psychologist or somebody where you can just talk about your own stuff, not a back and forth like you're having lunch. We have to share with each other. No, just take care of that and have somebody talk with you. It's a real help, I think, if people need that. I certainly did when I had this. And then I forced my kids. I was like, I need you to talk to people. They were like, I don't want to do your monkey games. I don't want to go to all these people. I'm like, well, you're involved in this very scary situation just like me. But I do support that. So the part of finding the Spirit was, I shared when I was in the hospital, that was my first moment where I sort of relinquished myself to God, and all of a sudden good things started happening. I started to reorganize my life. But other things started happening too. During this process where I was so open to God, I started getting messages from God. And I know that people are like, oh, she's crazy, she's going off the rails. But no, they were really, really amazing. And one of the most important one was, you are loved, and you are the essence of love. It was like God was saying, I'm in your body, right? Now remember, I never grew up with this stuff, so I was like, where is this coming from? What is any of this? But boy, when you see the truth, you really can't get beyond it. I mean, and why wouldn't you? And why would you? I started getting more messages too at night, and my poor husband was trying to sleep, and they would talk to me right before I was getting ready to go. And I wrote, and I started writing and writing. I've got pages and pages and pages of things they were saying. And one of the things they did say is that everyone is your brother and your sister, and they said there are elements in this world that are trying to separate you. And the message was, don't let them do that. Don't let these are your family. This is your family. We're all connected. And I was very moved by all the things that I learned. So I'm a big fan, big fan of God up there. And I hope that I can inspire other people too who didn't have traditional care, churches like I did, to understand they can find God any minute of the day. All you have to do is be willing to consider it. And I think that's a really important healing. I just wanted to say one last thing about this, the special sauce I see as far as healing. This is what I learned after all of that stuff and figuring it out at the very last bit. Here's the synopsis of it. This is how we heal, in my opinion. When it comes to the body, support your immune system, right? Support the immune system. The immune system is in your cells. They're special cells. They're like fighter cells, and they're taking out bacteria. They're taking out cancers. So keep your immune system up. That's by exercising. Take care, like the bottom of the tree, remember? That's going to support your immune system. The second part is calming down your nervous system, right? Remember I said I was a stress case? Ain't good. It ain't good at all. So we got to take care and calm ourselves down. Like I said, that Qigong that I explained to you, you can go on YouTube. You can see examples of it. Do that for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. We got that time, right? We've got the time. That will calm your nervous system, among many other things. The quieting, the other part is to quiet our minds and to fill it with good things, right? The good things. the things we've heard here are just so supportive of mindfulness. It makes me so happy. I can't even say enough. And then the last part is be willing to explore God and create a relationship with God. And again, that probably is the most powerful thing that I learned in my whole personal experience. So I want to just end this with, you are loved. You are loved. And you are the essence of love. And what a grateful thing for me to be in front of you, to be alive, to be able to share this message. And I hope that maybe there might be something here that may have helped you and supported you. And I just ask this one question: are you willing to explore it? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. We appreciate that incredible word. I'm telling you, here's a testimony. We talk about people making a decision. You know, I decided I'm going to live. I love that. Not if, it's not or when or whatever. No, I'm living. I made a choice. How powerful that is. They say there are 5 birds on a wire. They all decide to fly away. How many birds are on the wire? 5, because they decided, but they never did anything about it. But she did something about it. Said, I decided I am living. I am living and I am moving and living as if. And boy, oh boy, the power of that is a healing power. Now, you want to see roadblocks in your life. Stage 4 cancer, that's a big one. We all look at our own roadblocks in our life and we think of the challenges we have. Some of us may think, well, maybe mine not as big as that. But I've got this or that, I've got whatever. It's when we make this decision, I am, and I am acting as if. How beautiful that is. I think we need to give her a round of applause because of not only in her testimony, but applauding the wonderful power of faith and hope within her life. And how amazing that is as a light for each and every one of us. I don't know about you, but, and I love that phrase, I'm going to steal that one. Are you willing to explore God? Woo, let's explore. I'm loving that. Let's go on a wonderful exploration experience, amen. That's what I'm calling for our week, amen. I'm going to explore. I'm going into new places. I'm going where no man has ever gone before. It's a Star Trekian experience. I'm going to explore and have that wonderful journey together. Well, we have the wonderful opportunity to share in generosity and giving. And as our ushers come with these cans, let's just bless the ministry and work of City of Light as you give generously. Thank you so much. Amen. As we conclude, we have the wonderful opportunity to proclaim something very powerful in our own individual lives. That yes, there is peace, peace everywhere, peace all around me, and it begins in me. What a powerful statement to make that. For that peace says all is well. I'm at ease. I'm at no stress. I am at calm, sense of calmness. I'm in a sense of knowing all things are working together for good. Let's join together in this closing chorus. I invite you to rise as you're able, in body or in spirit, and sing with us together. Yes, there is peace. Let's proclaim it in the affirmative. Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins in me. Yes, there is peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as my center, united all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Yes, peace begins with me. Yes, this is the moment now. With every step I take, yes, this is my solemn vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me. Would you pray with me? Let's join our faith together. Bow your heads and let's just join in this wonderful proclamation. In this moment, we proclaim God's goodness at work. For we've heard the testimony of the divine power of God unfolding through the wonderful energy of making a decision to say, yes, I'm exploring God. Yes, I'm open to receiving. Yes, I'm open to living, and I make this decision and I act on it. So in this moment, we proclaim for each and every one that this message resounds within their heart in a powerful way, that as they decide, they are, and as they live, they are, and as they do, they are. And healing, wholeness, wealth, prosperity, blessing, goodness, guidance, whatever it may be, is theirs to claim. So we claim it now for each and every one in this moment, as we go in this power of knowing that peace of God is filling our life from head to toe. It's beginning within, and it flows to the world around us. So with gratitude now we say, and so it is. So take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins in me. Thank you so much for joining us through our social media programming. We're delighted that you're with us each and every week. We're thrilled to hear your words of affirmation and appreciation for the message coming from all around the world. We appreciate those in Indonesia. Thank you so much for your comments this past week. And for those in Michigan, we appreciate it as well. We're reaching out across the world, and we're excited about that this message is going to touch so many people's lives. For those of you who are joining us here, now we have the great opportunity to be in fellowship with one another and a chance for you to pick up Jennifer's book. She'll be signing books in the lobby. We're going to join in a great time of refreshments, and you need to read more and take this book and pass it on to others and give them the opportunity of hope for their lives as well. Amen. God bless you. Let's go in God's peace. Amen.